Although Celia wasn't happy that Chase gave money to Patricia, she didn't say anything. The two of them quickly left the Samson house. The next day, Celia put everything behind her and went to work early in the morning. Today was a big day for her and the company. The Mangan Makeup Company and the Roche Research Institute would be signing a contract today. George Hallman, dean of the institute, was on the way. When Celia arrived, she saw a lot of employees, including Gordon, crowding around the conference room. As soon as he saw her, Gordon immediately went up and reminded her. "Vice President Rothman, the dean himself is here to sign the contract. We have to be careful." Dean Hallman was a capable man who knew Roland Zimmerman well. He was very knowledgeable and drove a hard bargain. Roland would seek his advice for many projects for the hospital. As far as Gordon knew, George had a weird temper. If people were interested in him, he would cooperate even if the cost was high. However, if he was disappointed by people's first impressions, then he would forget about any agreement on the spot. It was Celia's first time discussing business with the client as the vice president of the company. Furthermore, she knew George, so Gordon couldn't help but ask for her. She listened to her boss's instructions and repeatedly nodded to show that she was paying attention. Only then did he stop. After about half an hour, George arrived. All of the employees immediately hurried forward to welcome him. He walked in, his posture straight. When he saw Gordon, he would only shake his hand and say hello formally. However, when he saw Celia, his expression suddenly changed. He softened and asked carefully, "You must be Vice President Celia Rothman." She was surprised by his attitude. She smiled and replied, "Yes, Mr. Hallman, please take a seat." George didn't sit down, but he smiled widely. "Vice President Rothman, you are truly heroic. Previously, Mr. Roland Zimmerman mentioned you. He said you're outstanding and your business results speak for themselves." Celia was stupefied by the flattering. She couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong. Logically speaking, Roche Research Institute's cooperation with Mangan Makeup had already been decided on. But why was the typically serious dean being so friendly? Gordon was also dumbfounded. George was famous for being a weirdo, but Celia had turned him into a gentleman. Her reputation was this high? She was surprised. "Dr. Roland Zimmerman mentioned me?" "Of course," George laughed. "If not for you, I wouldn't have chosen to partner with your company." Celia was in a fog and didn't know how to continue. "Well, sir, can we discuss the details of the contract?" "Here." At this point, he took out a stack of documents from his briefcase and respectfully handed it over to her. "I've been so engrossed with pleasantries that I forgot about business. Mrs. Rothman, this is the agreement between our two groups. I agreed to every term you set out. Please look through them for a moment. If there are no problems, then sign." "What?" At this moment, all the employees in the meeting room were shocked. They all looked at each other, unable to believe their ears. This was all progressing so fast. Normally, a contract with millions would be discussed in detail for at least half a day. Today, with a $10 million partnership, George had agreed to everything just like that? Gordon was dumbfounded. He looked at him and was speechless for a long time. Was it all because of Celia? Her reputation was too great. She was a little frightened herself, so she said nervously, "Dean Hallman, the collaboration is a major investment. Shouldn't we discuss the details?" "No need," George shouted. "I'd been specifically advised that the contents of the contract are trustworthy. As long as it has your signature, I'm willing to take on any time. Take a look." He flipped it open and pointed to the column for Party B. "We already signed the contract exactly as you sent it to us. Just countersign here and it will take effect." Gordon's mouth twitched into a smile. He never expected that today's signing would go so smoothly. In his entire career in business, he had signed hundreds or maybe even thousands of contracts. He'd never seen a contract signed, sealed, and delivered with complete acceptance of every term. This was practically giving money to the company. He was ecstatic. He kept reminding Celia to sign her name. Why was she acting so suspicious? This was her contract she'd written. She was shocked. However, she immediately wondered if George's reaction had been influenced by Chase. She would go home and ask him after signing the contract. She picked up the pen. However, just as she was about to sign her name, the door to the meeting room suddenly opened. In a split second, 8 bodyguards in suits walked in. They stood apart, forming a double line with an intimidating aura. Immediately after the bodyguards, a woman like a dazzling star entered the room. She had delicate features and fair skin. Even if she didn't have any much makeup, she looked better than most celebrities on TV. She wore a pink jacket with a diamond necklace around her neck, a short skirt, and dazzling high-heeled shoes. Beautiful, dignified, and very confident. At second glance, the crowd realized that this woman was extremely angry and walked in with an aggressive momentum. The domineering aura forced everyone 2 or 3 steps back. Celia was the target. She was sitting at the head of the meeting table. When the 2 beauties met, the atmosphere was tense. "Ma'am," Gordon began, "this is a private meeting. Isn't it rude of you to suddenly barge in?" Nobody was expecting what happened next. The woman didn't say a word in Celia's face. The entire audience was shocked. Who had Celia offended? Celia touched her face and asked with a stern voice, "Why did you do that?" The woman's face was cold. "That's for Chase." She picked up the papers on the desk and flung them all over the office. The contract's pages fell in drifts like snow, and the woman's eyes were so cold that it added to the illusion. "You can forget about signing this contract. Go home and tell your husband that Sasha Peterson is back." Even now, Celia still didn't know what was happening. Looking at the papers that were flying in the air, she became angry out of embarrassment. "What are you doing here?" Sasha snorted coldly. "You'll find out." She stared coldly at Celia for a few seconds. Finally, she waved her hand and left the meeting room. "Let's go." With that command, the bodyguards who had entered the room with her also filed out. The meeting room was very quiet. A minute later, everyone was still looking at each other in shock. Finally, someone started talking. Just who was this person? Why did she... Judging from her clothes, she must be from a rich family. How could she know Chase Rothman? How is she involved with all this? Isn't that Celia's good-for-nothing husband?
Wait, that's not the end. You've just had a free taste. Now get the full story on the Pocket FM app, link in description. Check out our next video and playlist, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.